You are in the making. All new episodes air on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We hope you enjoy. Please follow along. What really brought you together?
Music.
We are in this together.
I'm like, okay, I just had this big thing happen. I'm taking a sabbatical. I'm done climbing the corporate ladder. Everything since I was 27 years old. I'm just exhausted of making other people money.
I think what's very scary about the world right now, our country included, is that people are so sure that they're right.
And we worked at many studios that not only gave us a break, but people who believed in our music, who wanted to work with us.
Honestly, I don't think that there's anything that has made us change our direction in any way, shape, or form. I think we've always just sort of been like, well, let's just keep going. We like it, so let's just keep going.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to In the Making, the podcast exploring the transformative pivots that shape our lives. I'm Michael Betz, author of the book In the Making, a deep dive into embracing those pivotal moments of change. Today, I'm so honored to chat with a band whose story resonates deeply with me, Betty. Alyson Palmer, Elizabeth Ziff, and Amy Ziff are here. Icons of music, LGBTQ plus advocates, and also icons. And, really inspiration, spreading inspiration for nearly 40 years from a really random brunch in Cincinnati, thanks to Barbara Hauser and Procter Gamble, who brought them in. And I got to sit across the table from them and get to know them and sell Cincinnati to them, to really a lasting connection. Elizabeth and I have stayed connected for the past 5 years. And I can't wait to unpack their journey from, the past, the present, and so much looking into the future of Betty. Alyson, Elizabeth, Amy, welcome to In the Making.
It's the making. Hi, Mike. Nice to see you.
Yay. Well, we'll be right back to deep dive into their story. In the Making, out today in print, digital, on Amazon. Get your copy today at amzn.to/4C5S365. The link is in the bio. Let's build something real together. In the Making.
We are in this together. Danger worlds in the air. Overwhelmed. I don't care as long as we are in this together.
Welcome back to In the Making. I'm here with Betty. Betty was founded nearly 40 years ago. What really brought you together, and how did the authenticity play a role from the beginning?
Music.
Yeah, Amy's my sister, and we were in our parents' basement starting a band, an all-girl band, and we put an ad on the radio, WHFS in DC, this many years ago, and Alyson was the second bass player to come over, and we just hit it off right away. We had the same sense of humor. We were in one band together early on, and then that sort of imploded, and then we were in another art rock band that sort of imploded, and then we did a small little thing at the 930 Club, the original 930 Club in DC.
For a party for Dodie, and people seemed to really respond to the three of us as Betty, and we just took it from there.
It's where Alyson worked too.
And frankly, it was kismet. It really was fate, because I was in college and I just happened to come home, which I didn't usually do, put on the radio, which I definitely did not do in the middle of the day. And just as I did, an ad came on, and I happened to write down the number. So literally, it was fate that brought us together.
She called me. I was at work. I was working at a travel agency, and
Worldwide travel.
worldwide travel. It was for East India. And I was the only person that wasn't East Indian, but it was still a really fun place to just,
Of course it would be.
I don't know, work, but not really work, because I was mostly doing music, especially when we started our band. Anyway, Alyson called me and we talked for a long, long time when I should have been working. And we, became chums, and she said she was going to come over and audition.
A lot of our origin stories on our podcast, actually.
Yeah, we have a
Well,
podcast called Betty Girl Band. You can find out
Oh.
all the deep, dark secrets there. I won't let my kids listen to it yet.
That's amazing. And can they find that at hellobetty.com?
Yep, and they can also find it on Apple Music, blah blah, all that stuff.
And the fun thing about doing our history on Betty Girl Band, the podcast, was that all these memories started coming up that we'd all forgotten about. And all three of us, when we look at something, it's like Rashomon, we all remember it completely differently. So that's what the podcast is all about, like these different views of the same instance in the making.
Mhm.
I love that. You know what? I do want to say this. I know biologically, Amy and Elizabeth are sisters, but like being with you, you all are like what I say traditional family is now. Like, you don't have to have blood to be sisters, even though it is kind of part of the DNA side of it. But like, I just love how you guys are all family. And like, I just have been watching you through the years on social media, and you guys just really cheer and champion on your kids and all of those different things. And it was just really impressive, because sometimes there's toxicity when you're in a band or in a group so long, and there's egos. And I just feel like you guys
it can be toxic.
There still is.
Come on.
I
We're
mean,
humans.
we're human beings, and we're in a band together, and we're friends, and we butt heads because ego is involved. But somehow we've managed to weather through the years. I think politically we've been pretty aligned over the years, and also we're just rad feminists, and we believe in a better world. And even sometimes if our music doesn't champion the change of the world, which it does a little bit more so, especially on our new album, Eat, we believe in fun, and we believe in dancing through the revolution, so.
And
that.
some people didn't really enjoy this season of White Lotus. I did. And a lot of people were like, but those three girls, what was that speech about? And I thought it was absolutely profound, because what she talked about was time. And there is something about weathering through all of what life is, the time that's put in it, that creates family as well, to your point.
I don't know anybody that did that this season.
Oh, I know some people that were like,
I could have cared less. But
Huh.
I think women's friendship is so important and so evocative of the goddess herself, that if you do have true, honest friendships, and that doesn't mean you don't fight and you don't like talk about each other and stuff like that.
Well, that's real. That's
Yeah,
real
it's
friendship.
real.
That comes with it.
Yeah, it does. But if you have that women's friendship, it really does get you through life. I can't imagine having my life without my close women friends. It men of course too, but there's something about women's friendship that's complicated and also wonderful.
and let's face it, you only grow when you're rubbing against something. If you're just sort of like complacent, everything's fine, you're not going to grow. You need to have those moments of conflict. You need the friction to help the conflict.
You need a
Exactly.
friction to grow the mold.
I don't know how much friction I need anymore in my life.
We'll give you some friction, Amy. So really, was there really a definitive moment when you knew that like music, it wasn't just about the music? Like you saw the initiative, because you guys are just like, you're up there with some of the biggest LGBTQ plus icons. Like, when did you pivot to really becoming advocates? Or is it because, two of you identify as lesbian women and an amazing ally? Has that just always been part of your DNA? And since you guys had a platform, you all were able to amplify your message by that platform.
That's exactly what it was, because we all three of us have always been advocates for fairness and have stood up and talked even before we were banned.
It
Wouldn't you
started,
agree?
yeah, I think, back when we first started in Washington, our friends were getting sick. And, I had a boyfriend back then. It wasn't even about how you identified or how I identified. It's just that our friends were getting sick. We didn't understand it. It seemed like for people to be really standing up for being gay or something, it was very clandestine. Hush hush. The Gay Pride Festival on P Street was very, very no cameras, very looking around, which is different from now. It started that way. It was just what Alyson was
We
really
went to
talking about.
hospitals and sang for friends who were dying of AIDS, and the government wasn't doing anything about it. Reagan didn't mention the word AIDS until 1986, after, tens of thousands of people had died. And so it just seemed right to us to stand up for the community, not just because, I've always been a big les, but not because of that, but because of what was right. Like Alyson was saying, we've stood up for what was right. And DC, even though it was always very Democrat, it was always very lefty, very progressive, a lot of progressive think tanks. So the community there was very involved in politics, and going through our 20s in politics in DC really made us political. It just, for me, it opened that world to me, even though I'd been political as a kid.
And I think that's my point, is that yes, we all found each other, and yes, we all have this passion for making things right, but each of us as a child had that. You know what I mean? I remember Elizabeth said, Amy was always standing up for people. Elizabeth stood up for you or your younger brother and smashed a skateboard on somebody's head because he said something. I mean, like, we've always been those people that had to stand up and say something. So it only makes sense that we gravitated together so now we can sing something.
I think that's beautiful. And, obviously, Amy and Elizabeth, you shared, you two are both sisters and you both identify as lesbians. And Alyson, you're an ally, which is amazing.
You know what? Do you identify as lesbian, or do you identify more as just like polyamorous? I mean.
Oh, okay.
Because, in this time of knowing what labels are, I think that we should know that not all of us identify as
Well, I mean, I'm
lesbians.
married to a woman, so I guess that puts me
I mean, I've slept with a lot of men in my life, but I've always identified as lesbian because it's important to identify as lesbian. So the L in LGBTQ is not erased, because women are so often erased in things. And but as I get older, I don't really care about labels anymore. I belong to the world, as it were, but I definitely identify as a feminist and have for a long time. Identity politics has changed for me. I don't necessarily toe the party line in the LGBTQ community or in any community, really. I have very different thoughts about what people think, and I think that changes with time, and you roll with stuff, and hopefully you get more open to things as opposed to more closed. I saw people as they got older to get closed, and I don't want to be that person that closes. I want to be a person of compassion and understanding, but also standing up for what I believe in.
Yeah. And as long as there's room for that in our community, then I'm all for it. And these days it's a little bit crazy, because it's almost as if in our community and in other communities, if you don't adhere to a very, very kind of
It's a cancel culture.
Yeah.
It can be a
Oh,
cancel.
100%. And
Yeah.
like every community, there's opportunity of cancel. And, I guess that's like a great kind of, segue to promote my book, Selfishly of In the Making. I really wrote, I let, chapter 1, it was deep for me because, and I know people do this exercise a lot when they seek therapy and whatnot, because there's a lot of built up PTSD that you don't realize it. And I wrote a letter to my younger self, and, in the book, I reflected on early stages of, acceptance and authenticity. I would really like to know how you all navigated those early days of finding, your collective voice without losing your individual authenticity.
My congratulations on your book, by the way.
Thank
Very
you so
proud of you.
much.
And your
Yes.
podcast. We knew good things and great things were about to happen for you, and now they are. Wow.
Well, I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Do you mean authenticity in ourselves and in how we grew up, or authenticity as Betty? I think that the authenticity as Betty is because, and it derives from the authenticity of ourselves as people. And so you can't really deny that. We've never really adhered to a certain way of being in music or in anything like that. So that has always come across as being authentic, hopefully.
And I think as soon as you found out at least as soon as I found out who I was or where I was at this point in my life, I wasn't reticent to talk about it. I was at first because I didn't know where I was going to land. And now I'm very happy to talk about being married to a woman and having children.
What about you?
I don't know what the question was.
No, I think it was really, touched back into how did you navigate those early days of, finding your collective voice without losing your individual identity. So obviously you all have different paths, and you guys kind of referenced it in the answer above, but
And quite frankly, I think that because the three of us are such strong, my son says I'm type A, which I don't believe. But anyways, since we're all three such strong personalities, I don't think it's ever really been a problem. I think there's always been room, at least in Betty, there's always been room for each of us to be ourselves and express ourselves if we, spoke up and fought for that. I don't feel like there was ever a time when anybody asked us not to be authentic. You know what I mean? So it's part of being a feminist is knowing who you are and getting your voice out there so that you can make sure that other women do the same.
I think it's a beautiful way to say we're all in the making, if you think about it. And, you know, I think we're
100%.
always in the making. And so
Continuously.
you can always strive to be better. You can always strive to be kinder. You can always strive to be more authentic. What you thought you should be 10 years ago probably is going to be completely different of what you think, just because our moral compass changes, political things change, the world's evolving and changing, and we should be really happy and proud. You know, I know there's a lot of scariness out there right now and uncertainty, but, you know, I think we as a society collectively will make sure that, you know, all of our voices are heard and all of us are seen. And, you know, really my key takeaway for this portion is, you know, authenticity is the foundation of, you know, really a lasting impact. So more with the band Betty when we return. This has been so much fun and we'll be back. I'm back with one of everybody's favorite bands and one of everybody's favorite segments, our fire round questions. So the band Betty, what's a band or a jam that you're listening to right now?
Allison Russell. I adore her. And that's what I've been listening to a lot of her.
What's a book or podcast that you're listening to that's helping you, you know, fill your soul?
Hot Takes and Deep Dives is one by Jesse Rothschild. It's a fantastic dive into all kinds of fun things that people would love to know.
Exile is a great podcast. I don't listen to that many podcasts, but this is a really good podcast, and it's with Mandy Patinkin. It's a great podcast. Exile.
I'm being forced to listen to some parenting podcasts.
I love that. I love that. What's something you do to balance yourself? You know, you guys have stressful, you know,
Eat.
Yes. Okay, great.
Which also happens to be the name of our album. Isn't that perfect? Eat.
What's a couple of cities that you guys are going to be visiting this far, and then they can go to hellobetty.com to get the rest of the tour?
Well, later on this week, we're going to be in Philadelphia, which we love, a town. And we're on tour with our dear friend and phenomenal performer, Kate Pearson of the B-52s.
That's amazing.
Yes, we're going to be playing with her in Philadelphia and then in Hudson Valley, which we're really excited about, and then some more shows hopefully.
Maybe in Japan after that.
And perhaps in Japan.
Japan in the
And
spring.
then people can get tickets on hellobetty.com as well,
Yep.
or connect
Yes.
them to whatever ticket services. Well, thank you so much, Betty. That was a fun fire round.
Mike, you're great. And everything that you do is touching to gold.
Welcome back, and I'm here with the band Betty. One major theme in my book is the messy middle. Damn, don't we hate that, ladies? Betty has thrived for decades, surely encountering ups and downs. I'm wondering, can you share a moment where you had to reinvent or deeply pivot your direction?
Well, you know, I think if we had a direction, we might have had to. But honestly, people are like, how did you stay together for 39 years? It's because we've never had like a plan. We just sort of like follow along our destiny, and fun things keep popping in. We sort of turn. We just say yes. If you keep saying yes to enough stuff, you're going to have a 39-year career that's like a lot of fun and excitement.
Yeah.
Yes, there have been messy moments individually and collectively. But honestly, I don't think that there's anything that has made us change our direction in any way, shape, or form. I think we've always just sort of been like, well, let's just keep going. We like it, so let's just keep going.
At the beginning, people tried to, the industry tried to change our direction a bit, and we sort of tried, and then we were all, well, I don't think so. And just as far as like clothes or what we were talking
just do
about, singing.
acapella. They wanted us to just be an acapella group for a while and just sort of like 40s, like Andrew Sisters.
And then they gave up. They gave up. I mean, I think it's because we started out and we sang a cappella, and then we would use a bass for a song and sing, and we would use cello. And we didn't really have we didn't put any parameters on ourselves. And I think that was the whole new wave thing that happened in the 80s, and we were part of that. But
I think it was just us, quite frankly.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, because a lot of new wave things were like exactly one,
Cello community.
cookie cutter, just do that to be a hit. And I don't think that was ever kind of like we just assumed we were so great and what we did was so wonderful. People were going to come flocking to us. We didn't have to change who we were, I think.
Well,
Everybody
you
had
all
a-
are so great. So
Oh, that's
Thank
nice.
you, Mike.
Yeah, everybody wants to tell us what to do, but the thing is, we're still here. We still have a career.
We're still here.
And we've seen a lot of changes in the music industry from not being able to put out your own album to now everybody in the world can put out their own album. And it's a whole different world. It really is. And it's been fun to go on that ride and to have that perspective of starting when we did, when MTV had just started, and you know, they didn't play women on it, they didn't play people of color and all that other stuff. And we've seen the progression and the regression of the music industry. So it's an interesting point of view that we've all had.
So that's interesting because, you know, there's several artists that are kind of going on their own. You know, Kelly Clarkson's one of them who's like, hey, I'm going to go start my own label. But really, she just wants to put out music when she wants to and doesn't want the guardrails. You guys have always done that because you guys have been an independent group, you know, I believe. But can you kind of just talk about like that? Like, you know, when you're looking at your friends, because you guys are friends in the industry and you see, you know, millions and millions of dollars getting sunk into album releases and whatnot. But you guys really had to, you know, really blood, sweat, and tears to get your music out there. And I mean, it's made it out there. I mean, you guys were the theme song for the L Word, you know, all these big things that were able to sustain a 29-year career. But will you kind of just talk about that? 39. I'm sorry. 39.
Well, Mike,
I
it
was
just
saying
happens because we've slept with this. We've slept with the right people. So here we are.
That's her.
Yes, we've slept our way to the middle.
Can you guys kind of just share, like, you know, maybe the struggles that you guys had, or the freedom you all had because you want this direction?
I think struggles and freedom come hand in hand. Would it have been easier if we'd had lots and lots of money and a big machine behind us?
Hell yeah.
I think so. And I think all of us would have wanted that.
I mean, we could still do it and we would do it now.
But the thing is that when people did offer it, they did say, but you need to choose a lane. And none of us wanted to choose a lane. We wanted to do our own thing and say our own thing. One person said, you know, you have a lot of lesbians in your audience, like it was a bad thing. You know what I mean?
And a lot of gay men.
You know, and a lot of gay. So none of that actually made any sense. And you said blood, sweat, and tears to get our albums out there. I don't think it was really all that blood, sweat, and teary, quite frankly. We got together in 1986. We didn't put out our first album until 1992. It just wasn't really like a burning passion. Like we were having too much fun being on the road and creating and doing all those kind of things.
And we've also had people who have championed us over the years.
Really?
We had Mike Thorne, who was the producer of many albums. We've had
Painted Love.
Dante. We worked at many studios that not only gave us a break, but people who believed in our music, who wanted to work with us. And we've been really lucky in that way. We worked with Jason Carmer on our newest record called Eat, who we knew from the 80s in DC, who's a great producer, who's won a lot of Grammys. He wanted to work with us because we've got that history together and he liked our music and he wanted to get us into more into what we originally started with, more contemporary. So like a view back to the 80s with our music that we started with, electronica and things like that, mixed with acoustic and with more contemporary sounds.
One of our friends, who's also a producer in Philadelphia, said to us one time, when is you guys going to retire? And I don't really know if it's an active thing that you do to retire. I think, you know, if people still want us to play and we have music and we have things to say and we enjoy it.
Well, if what you do is also who you are, unless we drop dead.
You all are beautiful.
Oh, that's
beautiful humans as well. No, I just want to, you know, with like the blood, sweat, and tears, I'm saying you went out and toured your music. You went and found followers. You did that work in order to build that up. So when I met Blood, Sweat, and Tears, that's really kind of where I was going at. I am, you know, something that I just decided to do, and you guys, you know, Elizabeth, our correspondence the past couple of weeks kind of inspired me in it. I'm a new author. I'm a new podcast person, just like a new band. You have to go out and tour it to the world. So I'm actually spending the entire summer doing a nationwide book tour, podcast tour. Woo-hoo! And also, like, it's going to give me an opportunity to see old and meet new friends, you know, remind myself like of things going on, because there's a lot of negative things going on. So remind me of what a melting pot this country is. Yes. And then selfishly, I'm going to be doing business development for my company. So it's like a win win-win-win kind of situation. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
super excited. And in order to get it out, and if I believe in something, I may only have 2 people show up at a book signing. But hey, that's 2 more people that know about my book and my podcast than that didn't know about it yesterday. So
Exactly.
I'm super
That's
inspired
how
and
we feel
excited
about
by
our
that.
album.
Yeah.
We were once on a radio show, and they said anytime anybody calls in on a radio show, that actually means 1,000 people, because most people don't have the guts to call in. So even if only 2 people show up at one of your book signings, just know that there's another 1,000 people that wanted to be there but just couldn't be there.
And one of them would be me.
There you go.
Oh, I appreciate that. I am coming to New York, so but I hope we can figure out when you guys are touring this summer, because I believe you guys are all touring this summer and doing a lot of Pride festivals and promoting the newer album
Yes.
and
New.
getting out
New
there.
album.
Where can people find the I know it's growing by the day, but the tour dates and everything like that? Can they go to hellobetty.com, I believe?
Yeah, hellobetty.com, and they can also stream our music if they don't want to buy it. But you can find out all our information there. They can stream Eat if they go on to Spotify or whatever. Betty, Eat, and then you'll get our other music. But we're on all the platforms. So
Awesome.
Another thing about Betty is that when you talk about touring and doing all that, the blood, sweat, and we always like to go to a place and hang out for a while. Plop.
Yeah. We
Really
don't tour, we plop.
we
Yeah.
make friends.
We make friends, we eat the food, we see the place. And that seems to have been
We
really-
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We vibe on
we
it.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a great leeway, Amy. Like I can remember, I don't know if I'm just the world's best salesperson or not, but I remember I had Elizabeth opening up Zillow, looking at places, and she at the time she had had property in 2 of the most expensive places, and then she looked and she's like, "What? I can get this in Cincinnati? I'm moving here." But I think it's like we vibed and got connectivity,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
we were going to become best friends, and all of that jazz. But I love that. I think that's so important. To one, I think sometimes when you get the celebrity, you take yourself outside of the world that we all live in. And it seems like you guys really haven't done that, because you do find the authenticity of connections and know that those fans or those people who are going to come to your show are the ones who made sure your kids eat, and all of those different things. So I love that you guys have never lost the appreciation and the connectivity to your fans.
Absolutely. And also, we grew up traveling. They lived outside of the country. I lived outside of the country. We aren't one of those Americans that doesn't even have a passport. And I think that's part of it, is that we believe there's adventure as soon as you leave. As soon as you get to an airport, there's an adventure.
Amen, sister. Yeah.
We were asked to play a festival in Germany outside of Hamburg about, I guess 14 years ago.
Mhm.
And it was such a great experience.
Oh.
And then we tried to get home and the volcano in Iceland erupted. So the promoter of the festival invited us to stay for a week until the whole thing kind of got better.
Like, how do you do the balance of, your personal life with like the touring life and, having kids and, making sure that you're a present parent or a present partner,
Right.
with still living that, rock star lifestyle.
It is
like-
tough. It's easy
Yeah.
for men. Easier for men, of course, because traditionally men had the women, at home taking care of that stuff. But when you're actually the rock chick that's on the road that has the kids, it definitely is hard. I remember I was pregnant and we did a television show 10 days before I gave birth. And then our next gig was 10 days afterwards. And that was my daughter. And then for my son, we had a great gig in Paris when he was 3 weeks old. So I was like, okay, packed him up and headed out, and off we went. And now I look at those pictures of this basically looked like a sweet potato. This little sweet potato that's like wasn't even fully formed. And then we were like on the streets of Paris with our guitars and stuff and the sweet potato. It's amazing. But as a woman, you make do. Now, Amy, unfortunately, right now, or fortunately, no matter how you look at it, has toddlers. So she's going through that whole experience of like, how do you balance work life?
At
Share us.
the age of 100. And I don't know how it happened, I really don't. But
Well,
all
I
I
believe it was your wife that had them. That's probably what helped.
I
Yeah.
don't have children and I don't have a partner. I'm free as a bird and happy as a clam.
But in all transparency, you know, Elizabeth, you and I kind of have similar parallels. As like we've kind of identified being independent for a while and not needing others. So sometimes it's okay to put yourself first. And I'm okay with saying that. And it's not being selfish, it's just being independent. And that's the lives we've kind of
I
had.
don't know if I put myself first, Mike. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I do that. I think I'm a really good friend. Hopefully, I'm a good
Oh,
friend.
yeah. I'm not saying
but
I
I
spend
am.
my life being a good friend.
And
That's the
that's-
most important thing to me. It's even more important than having a love relationship. I've had many love relationships. I haven't had one in probably 6 or 7 years, but it hasn't been a priority for me. My health is more of a priority. Sometimes there's loneliness, but most of the time there isn't. And it's not that I'm not open to having a relationship. It's just that I don't want to settle. I want somebody who's fantastic and fabulous, who likes to travel, who's fun, who has their own thing. And then I was having children. That's never
now
been,
it's getting divorced. It's so normalized
never-
now.
but it's never been in my personal zeitgeist. I don't know if that's a theory or whatever, but I've never, that's not the thing that I marched for. I didn't march for marriage. I worked for gay marriage because it seemed fair to me.
No, it's true. Amy is insane. And we love her for it. We love her anyway. And we'll
I
be right
love you
back.
all too. We'll be right back. I'm back. It's Michael Betz, your host of In the Making podcast and the proud president and managing partner of the Proper Group. The past year, transforming the Proper Group has been one of the most exhilarating and rewarding experiences of my life. But when people ask, what is the Proper Group? My honest answer is, we don't fully know. Well, let me explain. We do know. We're just building something different. The Proper Group is 70% baked. Our founder, Larry Burns, laid the foundation. Now we're evolving into an elite collective of fractional C-suite leaders driving real sustainable growth. What we're not is a bloated consultancy with junior talent doing the real work, or a siloed agency only focusing on one or two functions. What we are is a cross-functional growth accelerator, a hands-on execution partner embedding with leadership teams. Because when companies grow, they grow fast. And without the right foundation, that growth won't last. That's where we come in. Let's talk, explore what we're building, and see if this would be the right fit for your team. We're just getting started, and come along for the ride. The Proper Group. We're on the move. Visit us at www.theproper.group.
We are in this together. Danger worlds in the air. Overwhelmed. I don't care as long as we are in this together.
Welcome back to In the Making. I'm your host, and I'm here with the band Betty.
Woohoo.
So, you know, what's next? The future of Betty. Betty continues to shine, playing pride festivals, creating new music, and maintaining your advocacy. What excites you about your next chapter?
What's really interesting to me personally is the fact that we are back kind of where we were at the beginning. Because as an administration right now who is anti everything that I believe that America
Preach.
should be. And
Yeah.
so it's so interesting to now be in the same situation as we were under Reagan, but be able to say with now a fullness of life and experience why I think that is the incorrect path, and try and connect with as many people who also believe that, so that we can make the changes that we need to do. Obviously, we were doing so well on our path before. We got so much closer to what we all believe the American dream could be, that's why we're in this backlash right now. So now it's time to like readjust and head us back in that direction to the moral arc.
But what's interesting right now for me is that with the advantage of time, when we were in the Reagan era, we were so angry, we were marching and protesting every day and trying to change things for the better, that we thought was the better. Things do change. So you see the pendulum swing back and forth. And if you know history way before that, if you know about history, you can see that it could get really bad, but eventually things will swing back if we work towards it, or if it gets so bad that people wake up and say, maybe that wasn't the right path, and which is what happens historically. So I think it's important to know history and or herstory or theystory, and not allow almost paralyzed depression that a lot of people are feeling right now, but get out there, be proactive, be active, and try to stay in the world without sinking your head in the sand. No matter, even if you decide not to march or do whatever you need to do to fight, you need to see that the world can be changed, that all you need to do is speak to 1 or 2 or 5 people in your life and have that connection. And if everybody were to do that, that's the thing that changes things.
I think what's very scary about the world right now, our country included, is that people are so sure that they're right from getting little tidbits of information or misinformation from TikTok or from a little bit of a soundbite from something.
Or Fox News.
Yeah, but I mean,
Sometimes CNN.
or sometimes CNN. I mean, or MSNBC. I mean, the fact is that there have been horrific things that have been happening, and people standing up for those horrific things just because they think that they're right.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I think that it's a very scary, and I think that that's why we lost
the
the
lack of
election.
education,
Yeah.
lack of education, the proliferation of propaganda in both sides, or all 10 sides on the telephone, and people, we've dumbed down America, and it's going to be worse before I think it gets
It's not
better.
just America, it's the world. The world wants to have a quick fix. People all over the place want to see one strong entity as the bad people, and people supposedly searching for their own self-determination as the ones that are struggling and the ones that need to be supported. But in reality, there's a bigger picture to everything.
No, I think your two parallels with the devices and losing the lack of trusted content out there, those are aligned. And it's unfortunate because we want those things give us instant gratification, but have long-term.
But it's a drug. It's a drug.
Yeah.
And we were privy to the beginnings of that when Reagan, when he deregulated everything, when he deregulated television, when he deregulated radio. You could say whatever you wanted on the news. It wasn't looked at anymore. It wasn't fact checked. And so then we have people in our government who are doing things that have no consequence anymore.
Yeah.
So to your point of in the making, I think what we're discussing right now here is the messy middle, that we are in a messy middle.
It's
And
true.
your question was about the future. And I think that as artists and as creative artists and as creative human beings, all we can do is keep creating. And I speak just for myself, but I'm saying this also. We just keep creating, and we keep. Sometimes you have so much creativity that it overflows and it goes to other people. And so I'm really excited about one future thing that we're doing, and that's we're going to be at Omega doing a workshop. Omega Institute is upstate in New York, and we're going to be doing a workshop from our 39 years of experience and information of what we've learned about the flow, which is one of the songs on our new album, Eat. And basically sharing what we have done to be creative and resilient at a time that can be very challenging.
And to find our voice.
I'm really excited about that. That's one of my future projects that I'm really excited about. What about you guys? What's in the future that you're thrilled
Yeah,
about?
I think I agree with the Omega
Get your
thing,
own.
but also because we're doing a concert there as well.
And we'll
So
add links
people
and
have
information
access,
about the
but-
Omega things in the podcast for y'all.
Okay, cool. The future for me, I'm living in the moment. I'm excited about the moment. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And so, I have a pretty strong practice about being in the moment and working towards a better future for Betty. I like to have opportunities for us. And I think playing in Cincinnati in the future is really what I'm headed for.
Come on.
That's the pinnacle of what I would like
I have
to do.
3 extra bedrooms waiting for you all.
Yeah.
We stay in hotels, girl.
Yeah, but my house is pretty nice.
it?
But one
yeah.
of the things that Elizabeth did not bring up, because she is so right now focused on the present, is the fact that she helped produce a song that's on a film that was just accepted at the Cannes Film Festival.
Right.
Oh
So
my
she's gonna be
gosh,
going to
that's
the Cannes Festival
amazing.
with our song, with a Betty song. She's going to be going to the Cannes Film Festival. So that's a really fun future thing. What about you? What's a fun
I didn't
future
produce it, actually. I composed the film. And then they wanted to use our song at the end of the movie. And it really, really turned out well. So it's going to be in the American Pavilion at Cannes Film Festival.
thing? Can, baby.
And yeah, so that was exciting. And working with Jeanette Buck, who's great, the director. And I'm just sad that they can't come because it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be fun. And to
It's
listen to our pride.
Can.
Actually, the
That's
correct
amazing.
pronunciation is con.
Okay, it's
I thought it
Con.
was Can.
Can or Con. It doesn't really matter. What are you excited about in the future?
I don't know. Maybe just getting a good night's sleep.
Said the toddler mom.
That was perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so quickly before we go to break, I really want to know, as you guys have evolved and have done big things, you've already have legs to stand on a lasting legacy. But in this next chapter, what do you really want to focus on that's going to continue that legacy?
What
And-
becomes a legend most?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't.
Are you asking us now or is this before the break?
No, this is the question now.
Oh, question.
Oh,
What
gee.
do we do?
What is our legacy? I think our legacy, for me, my legacy and the thing I want on my tombstone, even though I'm not going to have a tombstone because I'm going to be thrown into the wind.
You just have a monument. That's what I want. A monument.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, instead of
A statue.
Like a statue of you.
statue. Yeah.
Statue of
A
you.
mausoleum.
You want a mausoleum? She wants a mausoleum. I want a
Gosh,
statue of me.
Sorry.
She showed up.
Bless you.
That's what I'd like on my
She showed up.
on my monument is that
Your epitaph.
She showed up. That's a
she
good
showed
one.
up, and
I love that.
not just showed up for causes, but for people and musically. I want to bring joy. I've always wanted to bring joy and to people, to change the world, but that's changed as I get older because I do realize that it's very difficult to change the world. And if you can change some minds and help make a better place for maybe 1 or 2 people, I think that's enough. And somebody told me that a long time ago and I laughed in his face. And I said, no, we can change the world. But now I do see his point of view. I think we can still change the world, but one person at a time.
That was beautiful.
Scene.
Thanks.
And you?
Okay.
It was scene. He said, okay.
Why scene? We all have 3 different
Oh,
visions.
A vision for later on. I want to do something really new. I haven't decided what it is. I'm not talking about not doing Betty, but I want to reinvent different parts of me too.
I would like to have a hit song on the radio, worldwide hit, that everybody knows, besides the L word, because everybody does know the L word.
What have I done that I haven't done yet? You know what? I'm going to have to get back to you. It certainly is not going to be going to space.
Yeah, that's true. Can you imagine?
Oh
But
my
you get
God.
taller. You get taller if you go into space.
I'm 6'2".
No, you don't.
I
You
need
lose-
that.
You lose bone
Yeah, you
density.
get smaller.
You lose bone density.
But also, are there
Oh.
enough things on this planet to do rather than shoot up with your curls in space? I was very, very
I don't
disappointed.
know. I think it'd be kind of cool.
I think that one that just happened was a horrible distraction.
It was a
from
sword in the
what's
side
going
of
on.
feminism. It wasn't great. But I think that I look forward to seeing how the world will swing back.
I love that.
I
And,
don't know if I'm going to be around for it.
Well, let's hope and pray and do whatever you need to do. But I think the
pray
biggest
and
thing is, an act.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing about building your legacy because it continually evolves. Purpose and I guess
That's
impact.
it.
So we'll be back with In the Making with the band Betty. Get your copy today at amzn.to/4C5S365. The link is in the bio. Let's build something real together. In the Making.
We are
Welcome back.
To In the Making, where we are flipping the script.
Now it's our turn to ask Mike questions and things you really want to know.
Heck
Mike,
yeah.
how do you identify?
I identify as he, him, gay man, and I'm proud of it.
I have a question for you. Mike, you are clearly representing redheads. Can you turn your head side to side? Turn your head side to side. You are representing redheads. What about redheads do you think is absolutely true?
We're crazy in bed, like point blank.
Oh,
Red on the head, fire in bed. Like, let's just be honest.
I have another question. Mike, you crazy, handsome, gay redhead, what was the inspiration for you to write this book and start this podcast?
In the making.
Well, that's a great question. I wrote the book because I was told to, because, I had a big opportunity where I became president of my company and managing partner. And so, my job is to be the face of that organization and help it grow and evolve and grow its brand. And it's a game to play. I have to get out there. I have to talk, on panels. I have to go do keynotes. But a big part of that and a big anchor is usually if you write a book. So I was talking to my, career coach, and they're just like, you should write a book. And I'm like, absolutely not. And then I just got to thinking, I'm like, okay, I know the game. I'm a marketer. I'm going to have to do something. And so I wanted to be intentional. I had a really great lead up for my first 37 years. And then I've never been told no until then. I've worked really hard. I've achieved a lot, and I've never been told no. And then all in a, certain, I guess you would say, about a week, like my world came tumbling and the rug was pulled underneath me. And it allowed me to reflect. It allowed me to go really kind of seek out therapy. Amy, I love that you mentioned that earlier, because I think it's the best thing anybody can do. And one of the things my therapist did, and this was early on COVID, is really, document this, write things that are inspiring you, journal. What podcasts are you listening to and why? What books are you reading and why? What quotes resonate to you? Because, whatever this COVID was, we didn't really know what it was in the beginning, but we knew it was isolation. And for those who are single, it's very isolating and lonely. I had my dog, my fur ball, Hank, but it gave me yeah. Well, I think looking back, I think that there were good things and I think there were bad things for us to reset. But really what had happened, going back to the question, is I'm like, okay, I just had this big thing happen. I'm taking a sabbatical. I'm done climbing the corporate ladder. Been a VP of, everything since I was 27 years old. I'm just exhausted of making other people money. And I'm exhausted, whether that's the man, the woman, stakeholders. And I know that if I put myself out there, I could do it. And so I just said, this is the perfect opportunity that I just transition. And, it was a transition that I can always go back. There's a reason why I've had those jobs, is because I'm good at what I do.
You started your own company.
Yeah. And then I collaborated and started a company. And it really allowed me to make it something that I am very passionate about. And that's collaborating with other smart people. I know I'm not the smartest person at everything. I'm smart at certain things, but I'm surrounding myself with really smart people who complement me, and we're really trying to change the game. And so what the book transpired to be is I'm like, I can really talk about what this company is and how we're trying to transform the workplace, but also talk about the messy middle. Like maybe give people a heads up, or maybe in the back of their head is like, I could be doing this, or I'm stuck in a bored job, but I need a paycheck because I have, I have college tuition and, a mortgage. Or like the young Mike Betz in college, who was overzealous, climber, who thought because he was given this opportunity of an education from his parents and having whatever you call it, Catholic guilt, Jewish guilt, that you have to prove something to someone else and really try to, make something of yourself. I'm telling those people to just it's going to be there. Just pause, reflect who you're around. Like what you just said, enjoy the community that's around you. And so it's just one of those things where I hope what I'm able to do with this book is really maybe help one or two people who may feel, like there's a split in their road and they have to turn this way or that way. I didn't get it right like the past 3 years. I failed a lot more times than I succeeded. But I hope I can be an agent to help those people maybe mitigate some of those failures and, not be afraid to go on their own. And most importantly, surround yourself with really smart people who are going to make you your best self.
I have one important question for you. How can you help Betty in your new role?
I've always been a fan of Betty since I met you. And, I'm a few years junior of you all. And I knew like the songs and everything like that, but I didn't know your legacy until I, Wikipedia stalked you across the table from lunch. And I'm like, oh, these ladies are real deals. And then, I got to know you guys, you ladies, and you all are awesome. And anytime I reach out to Elizabeth or any of you all, I mean, I think at one point I was helping you guys like build a website and stuff like that. But like Elizabeth, I didn't mean to, kind of downgrade when I said you and I are similar people because we are independent.
Mike,
but like,
I was kidding.
No. I want to clarify though, because I'm like that. My relationships are with my friends because my friends are the most important people to me. Don't get me wrong. I have an amazing family and I love my family, but those friends are my family too. And so they've got me through the messy middle, the good times and the bad times. And then also it's all about timing. Like, I think you guys are coming in my life again for a reason. I don't know what that is. Hopefully we're able to meet up and have some good food on your tour while I'm on my tour. Yeah. And do some really cool things because it's not fun. The reason why I created the Proper Group and did this book is, it's scary to do things on your own. So I'm creating an ecosystem and a community and a collective in everything that I do to bring the right people along the way who have the same moral compass, who want to make money. I'm a capitalist, but I'm a conscious capitalist and do great things. So how can I help Betty? I will always be an advocate because you all are an advocate.
I was so kidding.
Mike, listen, I want to ask you a question. What exactly is your company? What exactly does it do?
So the Proper Group is basically, we're kind of transforming consultancy. Initially, we were doing marketing and helping companies, small to medium companies grow, but we pivoted it and we still do that. But we learned from consultancies, they're fat and bloated and antiquated. So it's usually a 25-year seasoned veteran that comes in, shakes hands, kisses babies. And then it's 22, 23, 24-year-olds that actually come in and are just learning off of a playbook, who have never failed, never succeeded, and telling people like you and I who've been doing the work for so long how to do it. And here's the plan. You got to go do that on the top of your job. So what we've done is we find seasoned executives who have failed, who have succeeded, who have been titans in their industry in every function. We've created this dream C-suite, and basically we call it LAS, Leadership as a Service, similar to SaaS, Software as a Service. And we embed those executives fractionally to go in and basically do what they know best. That's going to get the low-hanging fruit, show value, and build trust in that company, and then grow and expand from our other services. So it's just it's a great, fun opportunity. It's people who are like me, that's midway in their career, who, don't want to go at it alone. So have a great group of smart people around you, what I'm used to from corporate America, or people who are going on to their second or third act. They have done it for the big dogs in town or cats in town. And
I hear what you're saying. Mike, I would never be still doing this if I hadn't been doing it with them.
Yeah, it's collaboration.
I wouldn't want to go it alone.
Yeah.
And I have one final question for you.
Yes.
In our segment, what is the quote that resonates most with you?
Kelly Clarkson, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I love Kelly Clarkson. You guys
love
know
Kelly
that.
Clarkson.
I just think, she's a very resilient human. And I know that song was, taken from another bigger quote, but she kind of reinvented it for another generation. And I think that's just for the past, 2.5 decades, it's really resonated with a lot of people. Yeah. So, well, ladies, thanks for turning the mic around on me. This was fun. They definitely went off script because I did not answer answer any of the questions that I sent beforehand. But that's why I love Betty. They are creative geniuses and got the same points across that I needed to. So we'll be right back to wrap up the show. Get your copy today at amzn.to/4C5S365. The link is in the bio. Let's build something real together. In the making.
We are in this together. Danger worlds in the air. Overwhelmed. I don't care as long as we are in this together.
To everyone listening, thank you for joining. Stay connected to In the Making, follow along for updates, and remember, your journey is unfolding now. Keep embracing change because we're all still in the making. Have a great week, everyone. Welcome to In the Making podcast. Please like and subscribe and engage. We want to hear from you. In the Making is now available for digital pre-order on Amazon. Get your copy today at amzn.to/4C5S365. The link is in the bio. Let's build something real together. In the Making.